this is DrumWise Meets, and today I'm here with Jason Bittner. What equipment are you currently using?
Pearl drums, Zildjian cymbals, Remo drum heads, DW pedals and hardware, Gator cases, Ultimate in-ears, ProMark, Jason Bittner, 5BX signature stick. I could put the logo on the camera. I think that's it. I think. And then SimPad. There's another one. Hansen Foots. I always tend to, LP too. I always forget to tend to forget some of the smaller endorsers like SimPad, LP, stuff like that, because it's like I don't use that stuff every day. Like like the LP stuff, I only use the percussion stuff when I'm doing clinics and stuff. I don't necessarily have a go-go bell set up on an Overkill show. But but I don't want to. The last thing I want to do is leave them out. But I think I pretty much hit the gamut on everybody: LP, DW, Remo, ProMark, Pearl, Pearl, Zildjian, and Gator. Yep. I love all my companies and all the people that I work with at them. I couldn't be happier, and they take excellent care of me, and I'm very thankful for that. So thank them again a million times over.
What age did you start playing the drums, and what bands inspired you initially?
I started, if you want to quote Tommy, I started fiddling about around age 3 or so on pots and pans, really. I used to just destroy my grandmother's pots and pans, my mother's pots and pans, just take the wood spoons. It was just something that was in me as a kid. I don't know where it came from. There was nobody else musical in my family before me. It was just something that I was born with. I still have pictures of like banging on garbage cans with sticks when I was like 4 years old and behind my grandparents' house. There's still a picture of that somewhere around here. I first started formally taking lessons at 8 years old, because that was the earliest we were allowed to start taking lessons in school. So I started school lessons, did that 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, went to school band and the jazz band through middle school. Once I got to high school, then it was marching band, concert band, jazz band, and then right off to Berkeley in '88 for a few semesters. And then I got jaded and wanted to just get out on the road and, be in a band. So that's, then I took off, and then it took another 11 years or so to actually get on the road and be in a band, but eventually we got there.
What bands inspired you?
Oh, my first influences, really, I just like drums. I really wasn't gravitating to any players. It was just the drums that really took a hold on me. But in 1976, my dad bought Kiss Destroyer and realized that it was terrible. Well, for him, but not for the 6-year-old that he handed it down to. He bought it because he thought the cover looked cool. And then he listened to it once and said, "Here, kid, you're going to like this." And of course I did. But I didn't want to be Peter Criss. I wanted to be Gene Simmons, because he was the guy that breathed fire and spit blood. I'm like, I don't want to be the guy in the drums. I want to be that guy. So, but really, I guess Peter would be the first guy that made me think about wanting to be a drummer, I guess. But I think really my first drum influence, I really think was Keith Moon, because he was the first. My dad was a big Who fan, and he was the first drummer I actually really noticed outside the music. He was just a guy that stood out. I'm like, what makes him so different? And it's very ironic that it turns out that in the grand scheme of things, my biggest hero ever, which is Neil, Keith Moon was his idol. So that's really kind of strange that he was really the first guy that made me kind of stand up and take notice about the drums. So when I started taking lessons, I just wanted to play drums. It wasn't like I was influenced by anybody at that point, because I was only 8 years old. So, but the music that I was listening to was all the stuff that my parents were listening to, which was heavy drum-oriented music. My dad listened to a lot of 70s rock and a lot of the double drum bands. And so it was Allman Brothers, the Doobie Brothers, Marshall Tucker, 38 Special, Skinner's the only band out of those 5 that didn't have 2 drummers in the band. And according to Artemis Pyle, they thought Bob Burns might have came back eventually anyway, so Skinner would have had two drummers. So I was listening to all this music that had 2 drummers, so obviously that's going to have an impact on me. But I was also listening to my mom's record collection too, which was all 60s, late 60s stuff. So I was listening to Ginger Baker and Cream, Mitch Mitchell with Jimi Hendrix, and that's pretty much it. She listened to the Doors a lot too, but I didn't really care for the Doors. Still don't like the Doors. But out of a lot of that music, you know, Ginger, Keith Moon, and Mitch were the first real kind of guys that made me start thinking about drums. And I was just thinking about this the other day because I started kind of tracing my trajectory through time with this whole thing. Like when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was just learn how to play the drums, get my sticks right, learn a paradiddle, learn a double stroke roll, do all that. So I was listening to all this music, and yes, I was a major Kiss fan. But like I said, I didn't want to be Peter Criss. I wanted to be Gene Simmons. But when the 80s came along and we got MTV, in 1981, you couldn't escape Ghost in the Machine by the Police. Every one of those videos, whether it was Spirits in the Material World, Invisible Sun, Everything She Does Is Magic, or Demolition Man, all those videos, those 4 videos were in rotation all the time. And I got obsessed with Stuart Copeland in the blue, Midnight Blue Tama kit, which I own and have in my basement. That's how big of a Stuart Copeland fan I am. Wow. So he became my first drum idol. He was the first guy I was like, oh, I got to learn all these songs. So he was the first guy. Then I heard Iron Maiden. And then I went, oh, this is a totally different kind of music. And once again, the first thing about Maiden was just the music. It wasn't like, oh my God, that's Clive Burr. Because that wasn't what struck me first was the music, the presentation, and the holy shit aspect of it. As a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, the day that MTV came out, because I was 10 years old in 1980 when MTV first came out. My grandmother used to work for the cable company. I used to go to my grandparents' house in the summer to be watched during the day when my mom and my parents were at work. So I was there the day MTV came on the air. And the moment that I saw Iron Maiden, I went, oh my God, what the hell is this? Because it was unlike this wasn't the Police, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen prior. But I knew that there was something about it that I liked. So then I would just wait hours. Oh, when's that Wrathchild song coming on again? Oh, wait a minute. This is the same band again, but it's not Wrathchild. Oh, now it's the song Iron Maiden. Whoa, who's the guy with the lamp? You know, I didn't know what Eddie was at that point. So that's where the transcendence into metal came. So Stewart was the first guy. Then Clive Burr, shortly followed by Nico McBrain. And then in 1983, I heard Rush, and it was all over. And then that man won. He's number one. He will always be number one. And that's where that lies. Yeah. So, self-proclaimed Rush freak. It was nothing but, you know, as good as Stewart was, I was like, see you, buddy. I'm moving on. Big red Tama kit now. Let's try to build this one. So, that's it. It was it for me. There was no other music aside from Rush and Iron Maiden until 1985 when I heard Metallica. And then at that point, it was the Holy Trinity. It was Lars, Dave Lombardo, and Charlie Benante. That's what set me on my path toward metal. But I mean, up until then, even when I was a kid, I was just a student of drumming. It didn't matter. It wasn't metal drums I was listening to. It was any good drummer. Vinnie Colaiuta, Steve Smith, Terry Bozzio, Simon Phillips, all the fusion guys, Weckel. Like I was buying all those tapes and, Contemporary Plus One and listening to all these things and learning Spectrum, Billy Cobham, all these things as I was growing up because I just loved drumming. It didn't have to be metal. I really wasn't a metal guy until I was out of high school in Berkeley. That's really where I got tagged the metal guy because my senior year of high school, yeah, I loved heavy metal. It was my favorite kind of music, but I was just a drummer. As soon as I got to Berkeley, it was just like, whoa, there's like 8 guys with long hair here, and that's it. And everybody else is playing standards and swinging, and I am a fish out of water right here. But I was able to make a career out of it. So
many good drummers. And like the whole point of these interviews originally was so that our students can have some like inspiration, you know. So you giving a big list is just perfect. That's wicked.
There's one guy I majorly left out too, and that was John Bonham.
I was gonna
I didn't mean to do that. Bonzo came in somewhere a little bit before Neil and after Stewart. I mean, really, if you want to really pick my top 5 influences or my top 5 favorite drummers, it's hard to pick 5, but it's going to be Buddy Rich. Buddy Rich wins, period. He's the best drummer who ever walked. That's my opinion. It's going to be so he wins number 1 anyways. So if you want my top 5, it's going to be Neil, Steve Smith, Stuart Copeland, John Bonham, and probably the tie for 5 would be Charlie Benante, Dave Lombardo, because I can't pick either one of them and leave the other guy out. And if I can only pick 5, and then that's hard because then I just left Bozio out. So it's hard to pick that, you know, because there's all those guys and there's a lot of guys that I left out. So.
But this is the thing, and this is it. We're all inspired by lots of different people, and that's different drummers, and that's what makes us like how, you know, who we are and how we play. So
absolutely,
you've just proved that point by. I mean, my next question was going to be, who's your all-time favorite drummer, and you've just totally done that, because the whole point.
That's Neil.
But the whole point of asking that question is that there's always like branches to get there to that. So it's, yeah, totally. So that's wicked. I was going to say with Bonham, I kind of figured that with your t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm totally leaving him out. I have an amber Vistalite in my basement. I mean, like, come on. I mean, if you're really going to talk to anybody who's in hard rock or heavy metal and they don't mention John Bonham as an influence, something's wrong in the first place.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
But really, there's really not, you know, the trajectory of time there, you know, those are the guys that really, you know, that really left a mark. And, you know, Bonzo and Neil are 2 guys that were irreplaceable. Yeah. Irreplaceable.
Absolutely.
I mean, luckily, Rush got another 30 years than Zeppelin did. But my point is, you know, because we just watched Brian Johnson's show, Life on the Road, and he was interviewing Robert Plant. And he was just talking, he was like, oh, when Bonzo died, we were done. It was 1980. That's not a lot of time to be a band. That's just when you're starting to hit your stride and like you're the biggest band in the world, and now your drummer dies and you're like, oh shit, now what? You know? So, and same thing with Neil. You know, if they had still been playing, come on, there's nobody that can replace him.
Seeing as we talked about Bonham, my gig at the moment in the UK, we do a lot of tribute acts. So my main gig is a theatre tribute act to Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin. So cool. I'm having to constantly try and play Bonham, and it's like, yeah.
It's, you know, it's one thing to jam along to these songs and play what you think it is, but when you sit there and you just really listen with headphones, you go, that's not what I played. That's totally not what I played. Yeah. How is that note just like a half a beat behind? It's the way he played things. It's just, you know, there's just a feel that it's indescribable.
So what's been the highlight of your career so far?
That's really hard. You know, I did another interview not too long ago and asked me something along these lines. You know, there's been a lot of really, really awesome moments in my career. All right, I can't sum it up into one, but I'll put it into 3. Okay, and it's really in no. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's in order. meeting and becoming friends with Neil Peart. That's the one thing on my list. Like I said, he was my childhood hero. We became friends. I never told him he was my favorite drummer because he knew. And I got lucky enough to get in that inner circle with him. So that's the first thing. That right there. Him and a whole other shitload of professional drummers that were all my idols, who are all in my phone book right now, which, you know, that means a lot to me, because it means that I must have played well enough to not be a hack, because these guys gave me some kind of respect. So that's worth it. So that's one. Two, I definitely got to say being nominated for 2 Grammys with Shadows Fall certainly was not a schleppy moment at all. And 3 is touring with the real Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden in 2005 when we were on Ozfest with both bands, and being on the main stage and playing before Nico and Bill Ward every night, and having a meal or coffee or something with Bill Ward every day on that tour. Every day, Bill went out of his way to either come over and talk to me, or I'd go hang out with him. And both of those guys, I've built such a friendship with both of those wonderful British drummers. You know, last time I saw Bill was this year at NAMM. I got to see him very briefly in the Sabian booth after the line was snaking around like 4 or 5 times, and I just kind of cut through and walked right in the area where nobody was. And was like, starts looking, and they realize, all right, it's him. Where's he going? He obviously must have an in. And it's like, they said to come back here so I could say hello to Bill. And, you know, sure as shit, they came out and brought me in there. And, you know, my friendship with Nico. We used to live in Florida for a while and very close to where he lives. So we spent a lot of time at the restaurant and stuff. It's given me a lot of gear over the years. Actually, there's one right here. This is an Iron Maiden symbol.
Ooh.
It actually gave me in 2005 when we did the Drummer Live Festival together.
Wow. Amazing.
And he still gives me shit because I haven't used it. He goes, you never played it, though. I go, the point wasn't to play it. It was to have a piece of memorabilia. He's like, how many of my things you're going to have? I'm like, as many as you give me.
Just keep giving them to me.
Well, he's given me that. He gave me that. He gave me one of the Power Slave ride cymbals, and I bought one of his Live After Death snare drums off him too.
Wow. It sounds like you've got a real collection of like.
I have a massive collection, actually. I have a lot of shit that needs to be sold, to be honest with you. There's been a few periods in the last 20 years where I've gone a little eBay crazy, kind of.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. They turn around, holy shit, how did I get 50 snare drums? And my wife just goes, why do you need so many? I'm like,
yeah.
Why do you need so many pairs of shoes?
My line is, because I've got my shelves with my snare drums, and my wife comes in and goes, oh, is that one new? And I'm like, no, you just not seen it.
No, right. Yep. Is this a new one? No. Just this was down in storage. I just didn't. I wasn't up here before. Where are you gonna put that? Don't worry about it.
Why do you need so many? You can only play one at a time. And I'm like,
that one all the time. You can only play one at a time. I know, but I can look at the other 49 while I'm playing the one.
Yeah, and it's not true. You can easily play more than one. You know.
Good. Look at Chris Daddy Dave.
Exactly.
That's an example.
Have you ever had anything go wrong on stage that you've had to recover from that you can remember?
Well, how about dropping 2 sticks at once? That's not good. That happened once in a Shadows Fall show in Cleveland. It was an outdoor show and a day off from Ozfest 2005. It was an off show. I have to demonstrate this here. So I was playing, and all of a sudden, I just came around and I went, and this is the look on my face. So literally, it was just like, I saved whatever it was with my feet, and grab some sticks. But what felt like what must have been like literally like, you know, I don't know, how long did it take you to, you know, drop both of your sticks and then grab a new pair? I mean, I got sticks all over the place. I got a holder here, I got a holder here. I probably had a pair of sticks back in my hands within 3 seconds, but those 3 seconds seemed like, oh my fucking God, really? This is happening right now. Oh, shit. I've come down and hit myself square in the balls before. Thankfully, that was only at a practice because I literally fell right off the throne. And Dan stopped her and what was going on? Just hit myself in the nuts. So that wasn't fun. You know, knock on wood, man. Even with all the fill-in gigs, I've never really had a fucking train wreck on stage. There's been only one time ever in my life, and it was in 1997 when I was playing in a band called Crisis, and there was only one time ever in my life that I've literally stopped in the middle of a song. And I was, you know, stop, the white flag's in the air. I have no fucking idea where we are. I can't hear you. I can't hear him. Let's try this again. 1, 2, 3. That's it. It's the only time it's ever happened in my life. And I hope it never happens again. But I've been lucky. I've played through. I mean, I know when there's shit going down when the band's not together, or when, oh God, he's off, or he's off, that's off, or I'm off, or shit, we're not together. Why are we not? But it's never been all right, we're gonna stop because somebody effed up, and now we got to start over again. That's never happened, thank God.
But there's a valuable lesson there, because I'm always saying to students, because we do like student concerts every so often, and I'm always saying to students, if you drop a stick, the thing to do is grab a spare one from a stick holder rather than scrabbling around on the floor, because their initial reaction is, I've dropped my stick, I must get it back.
I got it. Well, yeah, but you know something? In their defense, I have a very bad habit.
Mm.
I don't do it on stage, but I do it here. I have a bag of sticks here. I've got a bag of sticks here. I have sticks here. I have sticks here. No. I lean down and get the one that I just dropped. And a lot of times too, and I'm not telling your students to do this. I'm not condoning this. I'm telling you this is stupid old man behavior. Because what also happens too is if it falls over that way and I know that I should get my lazy ass off the stool to get it because I can't reach it, no, I go, oh, and then something pulls in my shoulder. When I get back up, I'm going, all right, so now I can't practice for the rest of the day because now I can't move my arm because something just went out because I couldn't just get off the throne to get, no, I could have reached in the bag in the first place and we wouldn't be in this problem. We wouldn't be having this problem, but no, I needed that specific stick. That was the one for today.
Because they're a perfect pair.
There is. You know what it is? I'll show you what it is. Oh, shit. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Brand new. Mm-hmm. That's the perfect pair. Yeah. Not a little bit used, not used yesterday, not used 2 weeks ago. No, brand new, wrapped up, ready to go. The only time that this is not right is if I got a pair of sticks that were too light or something, and the moment I pick them up, I go, oh, shit, these are too light. They go right out the door, and I grab another pair. And then I unwrap them so I can save the wrap, and I pull all the light ones together, and I ship them back to Diodario. I go, all right, here, these are too light. Send me some ones that are not this weight. Because they're all fickle. They can look perfect. But, I mean, I've literally weighed an entire case of sticks before, and I've had up to a 0.5 gram difference between pairs, and that's a lot of weight. Yeah. Like in one hand you feel like you have a 5B, and in your other hand you feel like I have a 5A. So, and that just drives me nuts.
Just this is mainly for people that are kind of starting out with double pedal, or they've got to a certain level with it, but they can't push on to the next level. So basically, what advice would you give someone that's kind of starting out with double bass drum or double pedal in how to sort of progress with their playing?
Definitely to not try to run before you can walk. I mean, that's the biggest thing I can say. And if I could shave 35 years off my life and go back to being 15 again, because that's when I started playing double bass, I would approach it way different than the way I did, because I just threw the hat in the ring and just went for it, because there were no DVDs and books yet on this subject. The only thing that there was double bass drum studies by Joe Franco, which I didn't get to until I got to Berkeley in '88. So my 3 years prior was just jumping on the kit and trying to play along to my favorite bands. My favorite bands were going, and my feet couldn't do that. So instead of just jumping on the kit and trying to play endurance patterns, which is what I did, I'm on there trying to play Rain and Blood by Slayer. I've heard it 13 times. I know it in my head. That doesn't mean you can play it physically, dude. So the 17-year-old me found that out the hard way. I had gone on vacation with my parents to Florida, and I listened to nothing but Rain and Blood the entire time that I was there. 32 minutes on tape, back and forward, in my Walkman, playing video games. I knew the record backwards to forwards in my head. I can't wait to get home to try to play this stuff on drums. I'm like 3 bars into Angel of Death, and I'm already just like, all right, maybe we should start at something a little slower than this. So then we spun the clock all the way back to Fast as the Shark by Accept, which is about 50 BPM slower. And we concentrated on that. And that was too fast. So then we just took Red Hot by Motley Crue, which was nice and slow. And that's where I started. If your right foot can go 110 BPMs and your left foot can only go 75 BPMs, you're only going to be able to go 75 BPMs with your feet together. There's always going to be that dog foot. There still is. I've been doing this for 35 years. There's still a foot that doesn't go as fast as the other one, which is why you train that one to even it out. So first of all, when your left limb can't do that, you're at a disadvantage. Secondly, I'm a lefty on a righty kit. So I don't play upbeat double bass leading with my right foot. Like if I'm playing a snare on the and, my double bass starts on the of 4, or it starts on the and of 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, because I'm a lefty. It's just one of these weird things. Dave Lombardo does it. Vinnie Paul used to do that too, because he was another lefty, and there was these weird patterns. Downbeat, I'm right on the 1. But if I was to be younger in approaching this, what I would do is I would make sure that my hi-hat foot was solid first, because if you're not utilizing your hi-hat and keeping time with your hi-hat, you're not even utilizing that limb. So if you want to start using this here and you're not using your hi-hat already, you're already at a giant disadvantage. So the first thing I would say is get your hi-hat foot together before you even add a double pedal. Make sure your right foot is together before you add a double pedal. If your right foot's not together, you have no business trying your left foot yet. Get the basics together. Get your hands and your 2 feet playing this together, then worry about the second bass drum. It's a second bass drum because it's extra. It doesn't need to be there. There's only one kind of music that you need 2 bass drums for, and that's metal. And you really don't even need 2 bass drums for that. I know I'm probably getting chastised for that statement, but you understand what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. It's an extra thing. It shouldn't be the main focus. So once that extra foot is ready to be in there, I would just worry about playing small breaks of 16th note patterns first. Maybe 2. I would build it up. Yeah. That's what I would do now. But when I was a kid, I was just stupid. Went, I could last like 8 measures and then I'd crap out or whatever. So that's what I would do. I would get the hi-hat foot together first.
Yeah, I think a lot of our students forget about, well, the hi-hat is actually using my left foot. So, you know, and they all, yeah, they get obsessed with double pedal when in fact they haven't even tried to play
like,
it.
And a lot with me is I played drums for 6 years before I even got a double pedal. I mean, I had a kit when I was in 6th grade, but I didn't add a bass drum until I was in 10th. Like, that's 5-6 years of just playing one bass drum, because we didn't really have double pedals yet, like the Zalmer Twin, but you know, no one could afford that thing. So you had to buy a bass drum. So I bought a shitty bass drum and threw it aside on my Thomas Swing Star kit and bought a good pedal. And that's how I started learning. But for the most part, before I got to hearing Metallica and Slayer and Anthrax, the most was like, you know, pair things, you know, 3-note figures, 4-note figures, things like that. Ending on a song. There was never any straight on double bass.
So what are your hobbies away from drumming?
Drumming and more drumming, collecting drums, cleaning drums.
Yeah.
I don't really, you know, to be honest with you, I don't really have many hobbies. Working out, yoga, fitness, that's it. You know, it's doing that. It's either going to the gym and doing yoga, or I'm playing drums, or I'm doing something drum related, or hanging out with my cats and my wife. That's pretty much it. I'm a pretty boring person at this point in life. But that's all right. I don't need much more hobbies, to be quite honest with you, because when I'm out here, this kills my time. So I'm all right with it.
This is the thing, and this is kind of what inspired this question a little bit. I know it's a random question, but I think a lot of drummers, like, drums are their hobby, and then obviously that hobby becomes their job and their profession, but it doesn't mean that it's still not a hobby. So it's kind of a loaded question, really. Yeah, because most people have answered, well, drums are my hobby. So that's kind
If they're not out here and doing it for a living, it is a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, I'm still able to be out here and call it a profession and not a hobby.
Yeah. What sort of person do you think you need to be successful in the music industry?
Insane. Insane, because if you're going to go into the music business now at this point in the game,
yeah,
and I'm speaking before COVID. I don't even know what the hell's going to happen now. But pre-COVID, if you're going to go in the music business, God bless you, and have a backup plan, because that's all I'm going to tell you, because it's harder and harder and harder to do anything in this business. There's way less of a pie, and there's no money to be had anymore. There's no labels. There's none of the things that were abound 30, 40 years ago. I mean, even myself, I got in the very end of anything. You know, I don't sit back and collect record royalty checks and things like that. I get a royalty check once every quarter. You know how much it is? It's somewhere between $100 and $250. You know, I'm not going to complain about that. But if you can live on $1,000 a year, then I guess my bills are paid from the music business. But I mean, my point being is that those days are gone. I mean, there's ways to make money in the business, but you got to be multifaceted. If I was to go into music business right now, I would definitely go in for the production engineering side of it, because if you know how to do that stuff and work in the studio, at least you have a better shot than most people.
Yeah.
You know, when you know how to tweak all the knobs behind the board instead of having to pay someone to do it. The goods outweigh the bads. You know, when you have the good things that happen in it, you know, it can be really rewarding.
What's your favorite cookie?
You know, I don't eat a lot of junk food, to be quite honest with you, and baked goods, even though I love them, cookies are usually one of the last things in my wheelhouse. If I had to pick one, definitely probably chocolate chip. I'd be more inclined to take ice cream over a cookie any day.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's definitely a dessert of choice.
It's funny because all the UK drummers that I've asked that question to have been very specific about their favorite biscuit, favorite cookie, whereas the US guys, they've all been a bit like.
What's the UK answer?
The most popular one is a milk chocolate hobnob.
All right.
Yeah.
So answer this question. What the hell is a Turkish delight? I know what it is, but is that a cookie, or is that a candy, or is it a pastry? What category does that fall under?
I'd call it a sweet, like a candy. Yeah. It's not a biscuit or a cake, but yeah, I'd say it comes. That's a weird one though. It comes under.
It is a weird one.
If you could give one bit of advice for up and coming drummers, what would that be? Don't do it.
Don't do it. Learn how to play guitar instead. It's much less shit to carry.
Yeah.
All right, seriously, a word of advice to up and coming drummers: get a good teacher. Seriously, if you want to play drums, study with a good local teacher. What I'm going to tell you is online lessons, online music programs will never replace a one-on-one experience with a proper teacher. It just won't. And I give a lot of online lessons, and I say the same thing. You would get much more if you were in the room with me here than us doing this like this. Because if I have a student, he's holding the sticks wrong, I can't reach through the screen to move his wrists. And that's the biggest thing. If you don't have a one-on-one with someone in that room, it's good to have a mentor. You know, I was lucky and had some really good teachers growing up. So that's what I would say. I say get a teacher. Make sure you get your hands together, learn how to play the rudiments, and just be smart about things. And if you want to go in the music business, have a fallback plan. Just don't go for music. Go for a double degree or something. Have a fallback plan. Just don't think you're going to go and be a rock star, because it's not going to happen.
And that's a very sensible answer. I'm saying that to students all the time when they say, I'm going to go and study drums at college. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but you really need to consider what else you're going to do, because it doesn't mean you're going to come out of college and be a pro drummer. So, very true.
Does not.
Jason, thank you so much for spending your time with us here today at DrumWise. It's been a pleasure talking to you. All the best and stay safe.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks,
Take
mate.
care.